Well, since Roger Federer's back, me and Mr. Goat, we're back. And Mr. Goat has mixed me up in honor of Roger Federer's pink Uniqlo outfit. Mr. Goat has mixed me up a special drink to celebrate the super sweet Swiss outfit. Mr. Goat, what do you call this pink drink again? A pink Federer hurricane. Speaking of hurricane, we are under hurricane watch right here in the metro Atlanta, Georgia area. Right now we are covered in rain, but we'll keep you posted if the hurricane does approach Coffee Break Tennis Studios. Stick around, be the first to find out. You're right, Mr. Goat. Hurricanes are no laughing matter. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, we talk about Roger Federer's opening round at the Shanghai Masters. We go through the draw and make a few predictions about how it will shape up as we get into the end of the week. We talk a little bit about the sad state of things for Kyrgios and Grigor Dimitrov, personal friend of mine. And we'll go over a few ranking scenarios, what can happen at the top after Shanghai is over. You're watching Coffee Break Tennis, the fastest growing tennis talk show in the world. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. Mr. Goat, you didn't quite make this drink strong enough. Oh, that's better. Sorry if I offended you, Mr. Goat. Those of you who have commented below in the past about my use of paper for the news, will be happy to know those of you who have commented that I need a better camera, we've got the new iPhone, what is it called? Tennis. Had to get it because it's called tennis. The XS Max, for those of you who don't do the Roman numerals. So the old iPhone can now be used to keep my stories. I don't know if I like this. I kind of like the paper. I can't crumple up the stories and volley them at the camera. But we'll try this out for a little bit. So first off, let's just go over the, is it Daniil? We'll just say Medvedev. The Federer-Medvedev match was, some people are very worried about it. I think anytime Roger starts, obviously he takes like a break between every tournament he plays pretty much. He'll play a couple back-to-back. And every time we get the first one after not playing for a month on tour, although of course we had Labor Cup, that was less than a month ago, but still that's not your typical experience for Federer. He's playing doubles one day, he's playing singles the next. It's not playing 4 or 5 singles matches in a row like you get with most tournaments. So I just think everyone should be pretty happy that he played pretty good. The first serve was great. The placement was definitely there. Had a high first serve in percentage throughout the match, which is how he was able to overcome the second serve problems. More on that in a second. And he was winning a very high percentage. Nothing new for Roger Federer. Of course, sometimes when he's not playing for a little bit, you see him come out and the first serve is not there. That's a little harder to get. When the second serve is not there, that's a little easier because the second serve has a lot more spin on it. So that's a little easier to tame. So let's just take a look at some of these match stats that I have on the phone, which is very strange for me. It was about 2-hour long match. That's a pretty long match for Roger. He plays at a fast pace. 10 aces to 5 aces, 0 double faults. Can't say the second serve was too horrible when you don't double fault at all. The number that stands out is 36% win on second serve, but in a moment you'll see why that's not such a bad number. Allow me to explain in a moment. 71% first serve in, 82% win when the first serve goes in versus 64, so 18% higher than the opponent. That's going to do a lot of winning, not to mention 6% higher for the first serve going in. Breakpoint save, Roger only allowed Medvedev to get 3 chances to break, although he was able to convert on 2. Roger saved 1. Medvedev had to save 4 of 7, so that's 3 breaks. That's a little bit better than 2 breaks. But quickly, let's just go through the sets on the second serve. As I go through, you see the first serve in number goes down. But look at this. The first set, second serve win percentage is 14%. Now, because he got 76 in and he won 82% of that, didn't hurt so bad. He had 5 aces on no doubles. And Roger was doing very well to return in that first set. Look at that win, 44% on first serve. That number alarms me a lot more than the 36 for the match. That's Medvedev's first serve. That's a lot more alarming than winning 36 on the second. 57% win on second for Medvedev. in that first set, so he was doing better on second than first. That's never good. In the second set, Roger goes up slightly to 25%. No, slightly, almost double. That's 2 out of 8. Again, he's getting a pretty high percentage of first serves in. He's winning 84% in that second set. So it's not hurting so bad. It's just, I believe it's 4-all in the second set. Roger's returning, and that's a game where he wins a very good point, either the first or second point. Then there's another point right after that, I believe, where Federer hits a winner return, but the serve just barely missed. It's one of those times where you're happy your first serve missed, where if they said it was good and Federer hits the winner on you, you're going to challenge it to prove that it's out so you can get a second serve. If that serve goes in and Federer hits that forehand up the line winner, then, he's got 30 in that game. Maybe he breaks. Maybe if he's serving 5-4, he wins the match in straight sets and nobody has to worry that, oh no, danger signs, Federer's going to lose soon. Federer had to play a few more second serves in that final game, though, because he doesn't break at 4-all, so he's serving 4-5 in the second set to stay alive. I think he went down immediately 30-love, gets it right back to 30-all. And then a couple second serves. It wasn't like he put in like a terrible second serve and it just got crushed. I believe that it's the 30-all point that Roger puts in a pretty good second serve and gets into a good rally. And Medvedev just goes for it in that point, gets a chance. And I believe, 30-40. I'm trying to remember what Federer did, but it's something forgivable. He misses his first serve. That was unforgivable. But he gets a second serve in, and Medvedev takes advantage and wins that set. But in the third set, let's take a look at the numbers there. So we go from 14 to 25, and this is why we have such a bad number for the overall match. Because in the third set, Roger's winning 80% on first serve and 60% on second serve. 60% on second serve is a good number, and like I said earlier, it's easier to fine-tune that spinning, kicking second serve because either you're slicing it or you're kicking it. You're putting a lot more spin on second serve. So it's a little easier to find the rhythm on that second. So I would expect to see a number like 60% more often. Obviously, this court is playing very fast. Good news. I heard I was watching on Tennis TV, actually. I get the Tennis TV now. I got to say, it's pretty awesome. And I believe it was Robbie Koenig who said that this surface is probably next to Wimbledon the best for Federer. And I don't know, I might say it's better because Wimbledon's just seems like it's getting slower every year. Obviously, the bounce is very low there, but the bounce is very low here. Roger loves it. We knew that last year he beats Rafa Nadal pretty easily in straight sets in the final to win this tournament. One last thing before we go away from the stats page, take a look at this. I'd say Medvedev has a pretty good serve. His forehand's a little erratic because the technique's just not as clean as you see with most pros, but the backhand is great, very flat, kind of reminds you of Sasha Zverev a little bit because he's got a great serve, a great backhand, and then a forehand that maybe you could improve on a little bit. So with that, considering that, Federer was able to win 40% of his return points in this match. That's pretty good on a very fast surface against a guy with a really good serve. Another thing I heard was that Roger Federer's forehand was really in trouble. I don't see that. I know that the forehand for Federer all this year, you could argue, is not the very best it's ever been, but it's not like it's terrible. I saw a tweet somewhere, or a comment maybe, where someone said that Federer's forehand is an absolute mess. It's just falling apart, and I don't think that's there. The only thing, and I also hear people say Federer is looking a little slower. I wouldn't say he's necessarily looking slower. It's hard to see that because he's always so proactive with his footwork. He's always thinking ahead. He anticipates so well. But I will say that sometimes I do see Federer trying to run around a backhand where he really shouldn't. And then, the forehand looks terrible. The footwork doesn't look so great because he just bit off more than he could chew, one perhaps could say, in a manner of speaking. You know what I mean? It just hit the backhand. Federer's backhand's gotten so much better. And in this match, the backhand was great, especially in the first set. Federer actually had more unforced errors than winners on the forehand side. But Federer, I believe he had maybe 8 backhand winners in that first set. And he was just going for a lot because, on this surface, hitting a very aggressive backhand is going to be rewarded more. So Roger knows that when he goes up against someone like perhaps a Djokovic, if he gets past Batista Agut and everybody that he has to play, if Djokovic gets there, if he faces someone very good, someone who's more dangerous than Medvedev, comment below if you're from Rusland, Russian, and let me know if it's Medvedev or Medvedev. But anyways, Roger knows that it's going to pay off more than ever to go for those very aggressive, take them early and blast them backhands on this surface. You'll hit a lot more winners, or at least you'll force errors or get short balls. Roger was great at moving into the net. Footwork looked crisp. The volley looked very good. Roger hit a lot of tremendous volleys, although take a look at this highlight. Federer was not the one who had the greatest volley of the day. It was Medvedev.
A miracle from Medvedev. Check this out. Point's not over yet. Still not over. Look at the backspin.
So I see nothing to worry about. Of course, Roger could lose to Bautista Agut. Agut can be dangerous. His serve is not as dangerous as Medvedev, so that will, Federer can win more than 40% on return. That would do a lot of damage. But like we saw at the WTF What the Fudge World Tour Finals last year when David Goffin upset Roger, it was a shock to everyone. Anyone, they don't necessarily have to be able to overpower Roger if they can just be a backboard. If they can be like Novak Djokovic and just keep the ball in play no matter what and play tremendous defense and force Federer to come up with better shots. If it's a day where Federer doesn't feel the game and starts to get nervous, then yeah, maybe we could see Roger lose to Roberto Bautista Agut. So let's take a look. Oh, and before we look at that, let me just remind you folks out there that TennisCon Part 2 is coming. In fact, we're only about 2 weeks away. It will be the week of the Basel tournament in Switzerland und die Schweiz. Of course, that's an exciting time for Federer fans, but I will be in Texas at John Newcomb's Tennis Ranch to do TennisCon Part 2 with my partner in crime, tennis coaching guru and genius, Peter Freeman of Crunch Time Coaching. Click the link in the description down below. Get your free ticket to have live access to TennisCon the entire week. Why can't I remember off the top of my head what days those are? It's like October 21st or something like. It's the week of the Basel tournament. Look it up and you'll know. Or just do yourself a favor. Click down below. Get a free ticket. You don't want to miss my interview with Ian Westerman of Essential Tennis. We talk about finding the true center of the court. Turns out different shots can make you have to move more on the court, and a lot of the stuff that me and Ian cover are very essential to the Roger Federer game. Also, you would love to see my presentation, I'm sure, where I talk about the 3 things I learned from the pro game that anyone, no matter what level, can put in their game to be a better player. And even though I said 3 things I learned from studying the pro game, what I really meant was from studying Roger Federer. So if you want to see some big ticket ideas to take from the Federer game and put in your own game, if you're a tennis player, you don't want to miss my presentation. I believe I am presenting on Wednesday of TennisCon week. Again, it's live coming at you from Newcomb Ranch. There's Rod Laver is going to be there. John Newcomb's going to be there. Mark Philippoussis, who interestingly is the first opponent Roger Federer faced in a Grand Slam final when he beat him in his first ever Wimbledon triumph. He'll be there. And many more famous tennis people, legendary players will be there. You don't want to miss it. Not to mention, we talked to Paul Annacone, Federer's former coach. We talked to all kinds of legendary coaches of the game. You got to check it out. So let's take a look at this draw we got here. So, of course, Federer plays tomorrow against Roberto Bautista Agut. He could face Kiki Nishikori or Sam Querrey next. I mean, that's tough either way. Nishikori is going to be good on a fast court just like Federer. Nishikori is a very attacking player with great footwork who, like Roger Federer, is always looking to move in. Now, Federer, the thing I didn't say about Medvedev, if you didn't notice, is he beat Nishikori in the final of Tokyo just last week. So Medvedev is definitely on a hot streak. Don't worry if you're like, who's this Medvedev guy? He looks like he's only 14 years old. How could Roger lose a set to him? Don't sweat it. He's very good. He might turn out to be one of the best of the next-gen guys if you're not familiar with his game. Like I said, he has a very, very good serve. He's got a dangerous backhand, which is always trouble on the tour. Sam Querrey with his big serve. I mean, that could be trouble, but Federer's so good at managing the big servers, especially on a court where this is so fast. Federer can do so many things to pick Querrey apart. Nishikori, you never know if he's fully healthy, lost in Tokyo. I learned that recently. By the way, take a look at this article. I gotta tell you, ni hao, ni hao. I started learning Chinese because, what the heck? And guess who also started learning Chinese? Coincidence? Ich denke nicht. Of course, the one person everyone's so worried about is Juan Martín del Potro. I gotta say, on the tennis TV, you got Robbie Koenig. He's such a great tennis commentator. He said that perhaps the moment where you could trace back to Federer going from the guy who won the Australian Open to who we see now, still playing great tennis, but of course a lot of people are critical because he hasn't won a major. He hasn't made it past a quarterfinal in a major since winning the Aussie Open. Robbie Koenig, as so many of you, I bring this up because so many of you have commented down below before that it was at Indian Wells against Juan Martín del Potro, that match where Roger had match points. I believe, is that one of the matches where he won more points than the opponent and still lost? Actually, I don't think that's one of them, but pretty much all of his losses this year, Roger has won more points than the winner of the match. Del Potro, Borna Coric, Gojo. That's the guy I got to see Federer play in Cincinnati. That was a pretty good match. Ebden, who took out Dominic Thiem. Dominic Thiem is always going to struggle on these very fast surfaces because of his big, windy, loopy strokes. If you remember Matt Ebden, that's the guy. Did he do pretty well at Wimbledon this year? Or some fast courts this year, he was doing pretty well because he's very comfortable coming to net. He's able to take advantage of a fast court when you're able to come to net. So he took out Dominic Thiem. And then on the bottom half, Alex de Minaur, a little bit we'll talk about him. Mainly we'll talk about Kyrgios, but Alex de Minaur and Sasha Zverev. Another tough pick. Comment below. I'll let you pick that one. We got Tsitsipas versus Kevin Anderson. I think Tsitsipas can get through because he already beat a big guy with big shots, Karen Khachanov. Of course, Anderson is definitely way more experienced, has had such a great year, so you don't want to count him out too easy. But Cecchinato, who's next up for Djokovic. How about that? Did anyone see that tiebreaker for Cecchinato and Chung? I think Cecchinato was down like 4-1, and then he wins the set. He wins the tiebreak, the final set, third set tiebreaker. He's down 4-1, I think. He ends up winning at 7-5. We'll just assume that Novak Djokovic will get through. He looked good in his win over Jeremy Chardy, but he didn't look like super Djokovic. He was so great in the final U.S. Open. Then we went to Laver Cup, and I think Djokovic was kind of like, I don't want to say he was overwhelmed, but it was just a very new experience for him. Anyone who goes and plays this Laver Cup is going to be like, wow, this is out of this world. Watching it. It's a crazy sight to behold. Many of you comment below before saying that you absolutely love Laver Cup. I've heard some people say that Laver Cup ranks right up there with the pleasure of watching a major. So let's just say we get a Djokovic Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas did beat Djokovic before the U.S. Open. What was that? In Canada, it must have been. That's a tough one. I'll let you guys pick that one. I made my prediction. I think we're going to see Federer and Del Potro in the semis, with Federer coming through Del Potro in a tough match, as long as Del Potro feels good. In the bottom, if I had to pick right now, every time I feel like, you know what, Sasha Zverev is ready to make the big jump. And we got to give him a lot of credit. He's 21. We're going to look at the ranking scenarios in a moment. If you look at Sasha Zverev, he's the only person anywhere near that low of a number in the age department because it breaks down the top 10 by age. Everyone is most of the people in the top 10 are over 30. So being there as 21, you got to give Zverev credit, but he falls apart a little bit mentally sometimes. But I'll just give him the benefit of a doubt and say he can find a way through the demon, Alex de Minaur, and make it to Djokovic. Before we get out of here, we'll look at the rankings and talk about what can happen after this tournament and what it could mean for the end of the year. But first, let's talk a little bit about Grigor Dimitrov. He shut it down recently, and I watched that match that he lost, his last match, before saying he's got an ankle injury. And I can't even remember who he was playing. But I just remember I remember watching the last few games of that match. And I want to say it was like 4-all in the third set. Dimitrov serving, there's a break point, and Dimitrov double faults. And I think the point, it was like 30-all, and Dimitrov just has a shot that's very makeable and looks very tense, nervous, uncomfortable, no confidence on the shot, dumps it. Then it's 30-40, break point, double faults. Then he's returning to get back to 5-all and stay alive in the match against, I can't even remember who he was playing. And I just remember he gets a cross-court backhand at some point in that rally. And, he has makeable serves, returns, makeable shots to actually put pressure. Because if your opponent's serving for the match, they can get nervous. So you got to do your best to get returns back and just put some pressure on them and see if they'll miss. If you hit anything, average or slightly above average, there's a chance that your opponent will just beat themselves and you're back even 5-all. And I remember Dimitrov had a rally where he was playing pretty good. I think he hits a cross-court backhand or an inside-out forehand. He's wedged over to that backhand side of the court. Either it's a backhand cross-court or inside-out forehand. It's a good ball. He gets his opponent out of position, and he has the up-the-line backhand. My favorite shot, by the way. Dimitrov has that up-the-line backhand shot wide open. And you can literally see him like deaccelerating in the middle of the swing. I mean, that's what you coach like amateur players on. It's like, don't lose your swing speed. You get nervous, you tighten up your stroke, your swing, it loses the fluidity. It looks choppy, chunky. Dimitrov had this backhand up the line. If he's more confident, you know he probably makes that shot. He does a fist pump. He does a come on. The opponent feels more pressure serving for the match. Dimitrov surges on the confidence, but instead he gets real slow, deaccelerates on the ball, misses it badly, and then it was over. I don't think he hit another good shot for the rest of that game, and it was over. And then I find out that he's saying that he's shutting in. He's at least not playing Shanghai. I don't know if he's saying he's not playing at all because of an ankle injury. And I've been wondering, like, his coach, Danny Falverdew, who used to work with Lindell to help coach Andy Murray, and then I think he went to Tomas Burdick after that. You got to worry for Danny Falverdew's job security. I was kind of thinking maybe, last year, because, like after the World Tour Finals and sometimes before, we start hearing about players who are letting their coaches go, going in a new direction with their team. And I kind of feel like if Dimitrov would have had a really bad World Tour Finals instead of winning it, 1,500 points, 2,000 when you win a major. It's the closest thing to winning a major, points-wise. If Dimitrov doesn't win that, you wonder if he parts ways with the coach. Maybe not. It looks like they're actually friends. They're not, because they're about the same age. Valverdew's a pretty young coach. Now I really wonder, because Dimitrov, sad thing is, there's no way he can qualify. And I always wonder, do you give a wild card to the defending champion? I've been wondering this all years. We see more and more that Dimitrov is losing points like crazy. I wondered, is there a way to get them in the tournament, even though he's not top 8, to get into the World Tour Finals as defending champion? But no, there's not. Dimitrov will not defend it. He will lose 1,500 points. So with that, we'll talk about Nick Kyrgios last. Not much to say about him, but a little bit. So let's look at these live rankings. So Nadal had over 8,200 points. He loses 600. That's what you get if you make the finals. Since Roger won Shanghai last year, he can't lose 1,000 because he's got 90 already. He can lose 910 if he doesn't beat Bautista Agut. And put this on screen so you can see what I'm looking at on the iPhone. But if Federer were to make the final and lose, he would have 400 points deducted from his score. So he started with 6,900. If you're looking at this already, you'll probably notice Djokovic is already projected at number 2. But that's taking away the 1,000 points from Federer, because Federer was at 6,990. Djokovic was at 6,535. Over to the right, you can see next points. So see how it's plus 90 for Djokovic because he didn't play last year. It's minus 910 for Federer because he gets the 90 for winning today, but would lose 910. This is if he doesn't progress any further, as in loses the Bautista Agut. Loses the 910 from the remaining final points when you deduct the points he's earned already. So that would take him to 6,080 with the Joker at 6,625. This is if they progress no further, if they both lose next round. And if they were to win, if Federer wins, he stays what he was before the tournament, 6,900, defends his 1,000 points. Djokovic would be at 7,445, so only 215 points away from number 1, where Rafa Nadal currently sits. Now, I don't believe Rafa has very many more points to defend for the rest of the year. Remember, he lost to David Goffin in the World Tour Finals. He played one round, and he said, that's it, the knee's hurting, I'm out of here, I tried my best, give me the big finish the year number 1 trophy, and I'm going back to Mallorca. So there's not much more for Rafa to drop from this spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. He might play the World Tour Finals, we hope. If we get the Federer-Djokovic final that everyone wants to see, Djokovic would definitely still be would get number 2 in the world. We would see, let's say Federer beats Djokovic in the final. That'd be 6,900 points. 6,900 points for Fed, 7,045 points. So 7,045. So 145 away. Of course, Federer's got to defend 500 in Basel, in his hometown in Switzerland. Another interesting scenario, what if Juan Martín del Potro somehow won this? He would be put at 6,770 points. So there's a scenario where Del Potro is number 2 in the world, and Federer and Djokovic are 3 and 4. Sasha Zverev, if he won the tournament somehow, you see he could move to 5,665 points. And Then you got these guys with 4s and 3s below. You know, they're not really a threat. If Kevin Anderson, he's in tournament, he could win. Kevin Anderson, if he were to win the tournament, he could get the 4,600. I mean, that would be great for him, but still, that puts him pretty far out of reach. And then look at Grigor Dimitrov, who loses 180 points from last year. It's a little over 3,000 points. Of course, when they deduct the 1,500 from the World Tour Finals, Dimitrov pretty much gets cut in half. To give you a little perspective, that could drop you down to 1,700 something for Dimitrov, 16, 17, somewhere around there. Look who's down there. You got guys like Milos Raonic, Cecchinato, Medvedev. So that'd be a massive fall for Grigor Dimitrov. All right, last thing before we get out of here, let's talk about Nick Kyrgios. His match. Did you see that match? He loses to Bradley Klahn, who, fun stat I didn't know, was actually the guy who warmed up Roger in 2008 at Wimbledon before the epic greatest match of all time against Rafa Nadal in that 2008 Wimbledon final. Didn't know that about him. He's had 2 back surgeries, I believe. Talented player. Obviously, he's had bad luck with injuries, but he's a good player. Not good enough to be beating Nick Kyrgios if Nick Kyrgios isn't a crazy person. So you have to watch that third set. Now, Kyrgios gets in trouble with the umpire because the umpire says, Nick, you're borderline tanking. Just watch the first few games of that final set between Bradley Klahn and Nick Kyrgios. I'll just read you a few of the things I wrote down while I was watching that final set. Ball kids barely have time to pick up ball and get to their spot before Kyrgios serves the next point. In between first and second serve is crazy. I've never seen ball kids scurry and run so frantically because Kyrgios was literally taking like 1 second in between first and second serves. He was regularly hitting like 130 mile an hour second serve, just nowhere near going in. So Kyrgios, I think he goes down 3-0 almost immediately, like in no time at all because he's double faulting. He's trying to hit these massive serves. He really looks like he doesn't care at all. I mean, it's one of the worst times. It's one of the worst examples I can think of for Kyrgios. I know he does stuff like this every now and then, but it was a lot. It was concentrated in the first few games of this third set. I remember he was doing these sarcastic fist pumps, like he was making fun of players that actually care about winning matches. You know, like he was basically saying, like, I don't care. I don't care if I win. I'm going to do these sarcastic fist pumps to kind of mock myself or somebody who's trying. There were times where I think he sabered Bradley Klahn, maybe like 4-2, something like that in the match. He sabers him on the return like 3 times in a row. You could tell it was bothering Klahn. It was literally like, you have no respect for the game. You have no respect for my game for sure. And Klahn actually tries to hit Kyrgios. This just goes to show you how crazy this is with Nick Kyrgios because he's so talented that he's like playing like half like he doesn't really care, and the other half is like, hey, if I hit a great shot, that's kind of cool. I'm okay with that, but I really don't care too much. I'm not going to like grind out any long points here. It's either I'm going to hit it way out or I'm going to hit a great shot. So those 3 sabers, but 2 of them in a row, obviously when you saber, you find yourself at the net. Bradley Klahn tries to bust big forehands right, and he tries to hit him. And you could tell, like, part because it's a good strategy, but also because he's really frustrated. Like, the way you must feel like this guy doesn't take you serious. I know Bradley Klahn has to know that Nick Kyrgios is kind of crazy the way he does this, and you got to expect this kind of stuff with Kyrgios sometimes. But it's hard to not feel like it's a personal insult on your own game. It's like he's not taking it serious. If I was Federer, he would be playing hard. If we were on center court, he might be playing hard. But since it's me, Bradley Klahn, on the second or third court, he doesn't even take it serious. He doesn't take me serious as an opponent. He's sabering me 3 times in a row. Klahn tries to nail him, and I think you see Kyrgios do the little defender, like, you know, you kind of a little backhand defense volley into the net. But the second time, somehow Kyrgios blocks himself and hits like a little drop volley winner off Klahn trying to hit him. So pretty crazy. He's like not even trying and hits an amazing shot. Another thing I wrote down here that's pretty crazy is that you'd see Kyrgios wind up to hit like a really big forehand, but it looked funny. You could tell it was almost like a caricature of winding up to hit a big forehand. It's like he was making fun of winding up to hit a big forehand and blast him way out. At one point, Kyrgios hits an actually pretty good-looking one-handed backhand. The ball comes back cross-court, and Nick Kyrgios hits a 2-hand so wide it like pretty much goes right into the crowd. Are you okay, Mr. Gunn? And then finally, my last note on that match, Nick walks off the court on his cell phone. Another thing that doesn't really show respect to the opponent, to the game, the sport, the arena, whatever. And Paul Anacone says, this is a great win for the American player, Bradley Klon. And Nick, I don't know if I got this quote 100% right, but Anacone said something like, Nick needs to go back, do some thinking. If he wants to play, he should play. And if he doesn't want to play. Well, that's all the time we got for you today, folks. Comment below, what do you think about Nick Kyrgios? Should he play or should not he play? I actually had an article with Federer talking about it. I was going to read the quote, but it was just basically saying, hey, you know, if Nick wants to do well in this sport, he only needs to try hard and focus, and it's really up to him how far he wants to go. That's pretty much what Federer said. Thanks for watching Coffee Break Tennis. Sorry we've missed you. We'll try to do more videos than usual during this exciting Shanghai week, especially if Federer sets up an incredible clash with Joker in the final. Again, click the link down below to get your free ticket. You get the stream. You get to watch the videos from TennisCon Part 2 live at Newcomb Ranch, TennisCon 2. Get a free ticket. It's awesome. You got to check it out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you fairly soon. See ya!